In my ongoing dialogue with my Sabbath school class, I have a couple that are determined that Ellen White teaches that the final death of the wicked is God's strange act. In other words, means God uses his power to torture and kill them in the end. And then they quote a long quotation out of Great Controversy 672, 673. And I'm not going to read that long quotation. What I would say when you deal with stuff like this and you get a quotation like that, it is just like in Scripture. You read the three angels' messages. And when you read the third angel's message about the wrath being poured out without mixture and the fire and the brimstone, that smoke of their torment rises forever and ever. If you read that in isolation, such readings in isolation can lead to very distorted conclusions. You have to take all these types of descriptions and put them in the context of the larger whole, where the Scripture interprets its own meaning. What is wrath? What's the smoke represent? What's the torment? What's the fire? And where's the fire come? And even in this very chapter that's being referenced here, if you go back in the chapter to earlier in the same chapter, this author talks about how Christ appears on his throne of burnished gold above the city, and the radiance of his glory flows down into the city and out through the gates to cover the land. And later it talks in the same chapter, before you get to the part about the fire and some days or many days burning before you get there, it says the glory of God would be torment to Satan. He would flee from this place and so forth. And so the elements are here if you have the discernment and the larger database to bring in to read, to understand that God is not using his power to inflict this. This is the consequence that comes upon people when selfish, hardened hearts are bathed in infinite truth and love. And it all talks in the same chapter about how when this fire, this brilliance of God's glory that goes out over the whole earth, that at this judgment, all the sins they've ever committed are seen as if fire before their eyes. And this isn't some arbitrary thing. Why is that? Why are they seeing that? Because truth is reality. They are now aware of the reality of who they are in character. They can't hide from themselves anymore, and they don't like who they are in character. And it torments them to have their guilt and shame, the reality of it, bear in on them, because they are still corrupt in heart and character, and they haven't been reborn. And so you put all those pieces together, and some fight the truth longer, which Satan does. And then there's and then there is a fire in which the elements melt in the fervent heat that Peter describes, and Ellen White uses that language as well. But that fire is the fire that comes after all the people have surrendered their lives back. And Ellen White says in another place that the death of the wicked is voluntary with themselves. They do not want to live, and the Scripture gives that imagery too. They beg for the mountains to fall on them. They don't want to be in his presence. And so once the fires of truth and love have burned through all the lies and the selfishness that they have resisted, and they finally realize that this place is a place that I personally, because I like lies, I like selfishness, I like exploitation, the kindness, the goodness, the love, the gentleness I see here, it torments me, I hate it, I don't want to live here, and they surrender back. I'd rather be dead than live in this place. Then the fires of combustion come and go out over the earth, and all the elements melt in the fervent heat. And these are merged together in several places in Scripture, including in Malachi. When Malachi emerges, the Son of Righteousness rising with healing in his beams of light, but then describes how all the wicked are like stubble, and they burn up, okay? And so we have this fire that is mixed together, the fires of truth and love that heal the righteous, consume the wicked, Nadab and Abihu, and they were consumed with the fire before the Lord. They were still in their tunics, the next verse say. It wasn't fires of combustion. It's only after all the wicked are dead from their own voluntary surrender, because God doesn't take their life from them. He lets them experience what life would be like in his kingdom when he no longer veils his infinite glory. All the righteous are living in it without any harm. The wicked don't like it, and eventually they say, I'd rather die, and they surrender back. And then the fires of combustion come and kill the wicked. So this is the reality. However, some people don't want that. And so how do you approach them? Some people really want a God who will torment and torture. And so if this were true, if the view is true, then these are the kind of conversations I have. So what you're saying then, if God would simply restrain himself and not actually inflict death upon these people, they could live for all eternity. Sin actually doesn't harm. It doesn't kill. God harms you for it. So God becomes the source of death. And that's the God they worship, the God who is the source of death as an inflicted punishment. And so Satan didn't lie in Garden of Eden when he said, if in the day you eat, you won't die. No, there's nothing harmful about sin. I'm not saying God can't kill you. He certainly can. But you won't die from sin. That's Satan's view. And that's the view of those who take the position that God has used power to kill. No, God has been using his power to restrain what sin does to the sinner out of mercy and grace to give us opportunity for healing and reconciliation so we won't die from sin.
It's absolutely a strange act to
Let them go.
his children go that he loves dearly.
Next question.